649, 1320, WILS. Well, my next guest says he's filing an FEC complaint against CNN. William Kelly joins us, hosts the Citizen Kelly Show. You can find him at citizenkelly.com. William, great to have you on WILS.
Thank you for having me, brother.
You're based out of Chicago, and
Yes.
do you watch a lot of CNN? Or?
Only when I'm on the treadmill. But that hasn't been. I haven't been doing a lot of that lately.
Yeah. Now, what is it? What's the complaint going to be? The FEC complaint you're going to file?
Right. Well, as I'm sure you saw, Michael, it was an election like no other. And one of the things that I have to be, that I believe is a very, very positive outcome of this election, and I'm hoping to make it a lasting outcome, is that the media has been completely exposed. The so-called mainstream media in America has been completely exposed, and they for their bias. And I'm not just talking about the news, the network news channels. I'm talking about even the comedy shows, the so-called comedy shows, the late night talk shows, Stephen Colbert in particular, were nothing but hour-long hit jobs on the Republican nominee, Donald Trump.
But why do you think they're not? Because it seems like they're maintaining that, and then they're not going to stop. But why do you think that is? That they're not reassessing their own approach?
Well, I think. I guess, you can only assume the worst, unfortunately. You would think that people would try to somehow, change their message to suit an audience or to just for the sake of being entertaining. Right. Okay? I studied at Fucking City. I was in the conservatory for a while, the improvisational theater company in Chicago, where many of these late-night comedians, Stephen Colbert in particular, emanated from. And, one of the things that I always try to do, even as a conservative, was know my audience and try to mirror my audience and entertain my audience. Yeah. And sadly, sadly, it seems like Stephen Colbert is more committed to his politics than to entertaining his audience. I think he's going to lose his time slot. He may even lose his show, especially if we're successful with our FEC complaint.
Well, tell me this, though, because some say that this isn't really journalism. It's just punditry now. It's just people sharing opinions. What's your view on that this is not really necessarily news we're watching nowadays?
Well, I think that is very, very true. The only problem is that there are people opposing on TV as news, as just news hosts or news readers or comedians. In the case of Stephen Colbert, and they're not identifying themselves as having as advocating for a particular political point of view. The fact of the matter is, anyone who has ever run for public office or knows anything about it knows that if I were a candidate for public office and I wanted to have a 1 hour broadcast on a network news channel attacking my opponent, I would have to pay for that. If somebody did that on my behalf, that would be an in-kind contribution. The campaign would have to disclose that. Unfortunately, in the case of these late night talk shows and CNN in particular, unfortunately, they just try to pass it off as though,
no doubt. No, I mean, when you watch it, to me, it comes off as absolutely biased. But do you think in their world they don't see it that way? Is that part of it?
Well, it's entirely possible. But one way to prove that it is biased would be if you or I were to do the exact same show, but we just changed the names. If we were to do, if I were to get up on network TV and give Stephen Colbert's monologue, but I changed the name to Barack Obama, I would be called a racist. If I changed the name to Hillary Clinton, if I changed the name, Donald Trump to Hillary Clinton, I would be called a sexist. Mm-hmm. If I were to change the name, to Rahm Emanuel, I would be called a Nazi.
By the way, William Kelly with us, hosts the Citizen Kelly Show. Online, it's citizenkelly.com. But now, what is it you want the FEC to do?
Well, I want these shows to be held to the exact same standards that you and I are held to. Okay. That's the other thing that's so interesting. We have this Alec Baldwin character attacking Donald Trump every week on Saturday Night Live. Here's a guy who has been given a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. He's made the racial slurs, the slurs against women, the slurs against children, his own children.
Some would say
a second and a third chance.
Some would say
you and I, Michael. Yeah.
Some would say that look, Saturday Night Live has made fun of all the presidents. What's so different about the way they go about Donald Trump?
Well, I guess that's the really. I think that kind of goes to your last question about people's perceptions. It's very, very, very obvious to people who that their bias is anti-Trump, anti-Republican, anti-conservative, anti-middle class, anti-American, anti-God. It's obviously that is their bias. And if they don't see it, then that really means that they are so horribly out of touch that they really should be slapped by the FEC.
Do you think? Do you think it does affect how Americans generally view Donald Trump, the way he's being reported on by mainstream media?
Well, Michael, I have to say this, and I might as well say it, even though maybe I should just. Keep biting my tongue and just let it go, let it roll the way it's going. Honestly, Michael, I don't think Donald Trump would have gotten elected but for the bias. I think it was so extreme in this last election cycle, CNN, Saturday Night Live, Stephen Colbert in particular, and those are the entities that we're going to be going after, that I think the average American, middle-class American, independent, people who, including, educated women and other people who might very well have gone for Hillary Clinton. I think they just saw this relentless, annoying,
no question. Look, it's tough to watch. You watch it, and there's a point where even the tone, forget the actual wording, but even the tone, the facial expressions, everything about it crosses all the lines of any kind of objective journalism. But here's what I want to get your thoughts on what Democrats say now, which is that Hillary won by such a wide margin in the popular vote that really that's the voice of America, that you have millions more Americans that really wanted her to be president. What do you say to that?
Well, I don't think that that's even true. I think that you want to talk about fake news. CNN is crying about fake news. That somehow fake news got Donald Trump elected. This is the same network that said that hands up, don't shoot. This is the same network that said Baltimore were peaceful protesters. This is the same network that said that Donald Trump had no chance of winning. CNN is obviously the fake news, and it's especially hilarious to hear this coming from people who essentially treated Jon Stewart as their primary news source. Speaking of,
he's certainly a hero of the left. One last thing, less than a minute now, but where do you get your news? What sources do you rely on yourself?
Well, I living in Chicago, living in Rom-occupied Chicago, I didn't need George Orwell to tell me that we basically we're getting doublespeak. I just take whatever headline I see, and I just flip it upside down, and that's my news.
Makes sense. William Kelly hosts the Citizen Kelly Show, and find him online at citizenkelly.com, citizenkelly.com. William, great to have you on WILS. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Yep. Anytime.
And that's it for us. 6:59. We are wrapping it up here. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned. Lars Larson coming up next here on 1320 WILS. And for your thoughts and comments, send us an email. Let us know what you think. Any feedback is greatly appreciated. ccrecap@gmail.com. ccrecap@gmail.com. We're back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Stay warm and have a good night. Bye-bye.